Imagine this. You wake up tomorrow morning, open your eyes, and immediately realize something is wrong. The familiar sounds of modern life are gone. There are no cars passing outside, no distant airplanes crossing the sky, no phones vibrating with notifications, and no electrical devices quietly humming in the background. You sit up and look around, expecting to see houses, roads, and power lines. Instead, there is only a wilderness stretching in every direction. Forests, grasslands, rivers, and open skies dominate the landscape. Somehow, impossibly, you have been transported 10,000 years into the past. At first, you might not be worried. After all, you're a modern human. You know about science, medicine, engineering, and technology. You understand concepts that ancient people could never have imagined. Compared to the people living around you, it feels as though you possess the knowledge of an entire civilization. But within a few days, you would discover a truth that most people never think about. Knowledge and survival are not the same thing. Modern humans often confuse information with capability. We know what electricity is, but most of us cannot generate it. We know airplanes can fly, but very few people could build one. We understand modern medicine, but almost nobody could produce antibiotics from materials found in nature. The reality is that civilization functions like an enormous machine, and most of us only interact with the final products. We press buttons, open apps, order food, and consume technology without understanding the countless systems operating behind the scenes. Those systems depend on millions of specialists spread across the world. Engineers maintain infrastructure, farmers grow food, doctors provide healthcare, technicians keep communication networks running. 10,000 years ago, all of those systems disappear. Suddenly, survival becomes your responsibility, and for the first time in your life, every basic need must be solved directly rather than outsourced to society. The first challenge arrives sooner than you think: food. Today, obtaining food is one of the easiest tasks in daily life. You can visit a supermarket, order a meal online, or grab a snack from a nearby store. Calories are so abundant that many modern societies struggle more with overeating than starvation. For almost all of human history, this situation would have seemed miraculous. 10,000 years ago, finding food wasn't a small part of life. It was life itself. Hunter-gatherers spent enormous amounts of time searching for edible plants, collecting nuts and berries, digging roots, catching fish, and tracking animals. Success was never guaranteed. A poor hunting day meant hunger. Several poor hunting days could become a serious threat. Every meal required knowledge, effort, patience, and often cooperation with others. Now imagine standing alone in a forest. How many edible plants could you confidently identify? Not guess, not assume. Actually, no. For most people, the answer is surprisingly few. Nature doesn't provide labels. There are no warning signs attached to poisonous berries. There are no nutrition facts printed beside edible roots. Ancient humans spent their entire lives learning the difference. Children in hunter-gatherer societies began acquiring survival knowledge at a very young age, gradually building an understanding of local plants, animals, weather patterns, and seasonal food sources. This knowledge may seem simple compared to modern science, but when survival is on the line, it becomes far more valuable than understanding computers, economics, or advanced mathematics. A single mistake in identifying food could have serious consequences, and nature rarely offers second chances. Food, however, is only the beginning. Soon you will need water. A healthy person can survive weeks without food, but only a few days without water. At first glance, finding water appears easy. Rivers, lakes, streams, and ponds exist almost everywhere. Yet ancient humans understood something that many modern people rarely consider. Water can be dangerous. A stream may look perfectly clean while containing parasites, harmful bacteria, or contamination from animals farther upstream. In modern life, clean drinking water is one of civilization's greatest achievements. You turn on a faucet, and safe water appears instantly. It has been filtered, tested, treated, and delivered directly to your home. 10,000 years ago, none of those protections existed. Every water source carried uncertainty, and drinking from the wrong one could quickly lead to illness. Disease itself would become one of your greatest enemies. Modern medicine has transformed human life so completely that it's difficult to appreciate how dangerous the world once was. Today, infections can often be treated with antibiotics. Broken bones can be stabilized. Deep wounds can be cleaned and stitched. Serious illnesses can be diagnosed and monitored. 10,000 years ago, many of these problems could become fatal. A small cut might become infected. A toothache could develop into a life-threatening condition. A stomach illness could weaken an otherwise healthy person beyond recovery. Throughout human history, disease has killed far more people than predators ever did. The greatest danger was often invisible. Bacteria, parasites, and infections were constant threats, and without modern medicine, every injury carried risks that modern humans rarely have to consider. Then there is fire, one of the most important technologies ever discovered. Most people assume they could start a fire if necessary. Movies and television often make primitive fire-making look simple. Rub two sticks together, wait a moment, and flames appear. In reality, the process is far more difficult. The correct materials must be chosen. The wood must be suitable. The tinder must be dry. Weather conditions matter. Wind matters. Humidity matters. matters. Technique matters. Even experienced survival experts sometimes struggle under difficult conditions. Now imagine attempting to start a fire while cold, hungry, exhausted, and frightened. Ancient humans mastered this skill because failure had immediate consequences. Fire provided warmth, cooked food, purified water, extended daylight hours, and offered protection against predators. Without it, surviving even a short period could become dramatically harder. Predators would present another challenge that modern people rarely think about. Today, most humans live in environments where encounters with large predators are uncommon. Many people will go their entire lives without seeing a wolf, bear, lion, or leopard outside a zoo. We have become accustomed to being the dominant species. 10,000 years ago, the situation was very different. Humans shared landscapes with powerful animals capable of killing them. For hundreds of thousands of years, our ancestors lived alongside wolves, bears, hyenas, big cats, and other dangerous predators. They survived not because they were physically stronger, but because they developed tools, intelligence, communication, and cooperation. A lone human is vulnerable. A group of humans working together becomes far more formidable. Once again, survival depended less on individual strength and more on collective effort. This brings us to one of the biggest misconceptions about survival. Modern culture often celebrates the image of the lone survivor, overcoming impossible odds through determination and intelligence. Human history tells a different story. Humans evolved as social creatures. Anthropologists studying traditional societies consistently find that cooperation lies at the center of survival. Food is shared, knowledge is shared, protection is shared, children are raised collectively, elders pass down experience accumulated over decades. When one person becomes injured, others help. When hunting fails, the group adapts. If you suddenly appeared 10,000 years ago, your greatest challenge might not be finding food or making fire. It might be convincing a community to accept you. Without a group, every problem becomes harder. With a group, survival becomes significantly more achievable. Communication would create another enormous obstacle. You may possess years of education and understand ideas thousands of years ahead of their time, but none of that matters if nobody understands what you're saying. Imagine trying to explain agriculture, medicine, or engineering using only gestures. Imagine attempting to communicate complex concepts without a shared language. Even simple conversations would become difficult. During your first months in the ancient world, you would likely spend far more time learning than teaching. You would need to understand local customs, geography, food sources, dangers, and social structures. Despite all your modern knowledge, the people around you would possess something you lack: practical experience. They know the land, they know the seasons, they know the animals, they know which plants heal and which plants kill. In the ancient world, that knowledge would be far more valuable than anything you learned in school. Perhaps the most surprising challenge of all would be psychological. Modern humans live inside an invisible safety net. If you're hungry, there are stores. If you're sick, there are doctors. If you're cold, there is heating. If you're in danger, emergency services exist. If you need information, the internet can provide answers within seconds. For most of human history, none of these systems existed. Uncertainty was a permanent part of life. Every winter mattered. Every drought mattered. Every injury mattered. Every hunting trip carried risks. Survival required constant awareness, constant adaptation, and constant resilience. Yet despite these hardships, ancient humans achieved something extraordinary. They survived, adapted, explored new environments, raised families, developed cultures, and eventually built the foundations of civilization itself. The reason you're alive today is because every generation before you succeeded against challenges that would terrify most modern people. Thousands of generations endured hunger, disease, predators, harsh weather, and uncertainty, yet somehow they continued. They crossed continents, survived ice ages, adapted to deserts and forests, and passed their knowledge to future generations. So would a modern human survive 10,000 years ago? Some would, most probably wouldn't, at least not alone. Because survival in the ancient world wasn't about having the most information. It wasn't about understanding advanced technology. It wasn't even about intelligence alone. It was about practical skills, adaptability, cooperation, resilience, and a deep understanding of the natural world. The uncomfortable truth is that the people you might initially consider primitive would actually possess far more useful survival knowledge than you. And your greatest chance of staying alive would not come from teaching them about the future. It would come from learning everything they already knew.